Stefano Boeri. I'm an architect based in Milano, and I'm the president of the Triennale Milano. I believe there is a kind of red line that put in a very strong connection these last three international exhibitions. On 2019, with Paolo Antonelli and MoMA, the 22nd edition has had a very, let's say, strong title, who was Broken Nature. Broken Nature was a way to try to see how the human impacts on natural environment should be in a way repaired. Just 3 years after that, 2022, well, we were still in the let's say in the tremendous period of the COVID pandemics, and what we discovered was that the sphere of nature that we were considering as something which was completely external, so not directly in contact with us. That sphere that we had to repair, where we had to project our solution, was manifesting itself inside each of us. Because the microorganism who was in few weeks changing the life of millions and millions and millions of humans all over the world was, let's say, the worst and at the same time the best confirm that we are part of nature and nature is inside us. And so this kind of binary differentiation had to be changed. The title of this 23rd exhibition was Unknown Unknowns. What we don't know, we don't know. And honestly was very strong. It was curated by an astrophysicist, Ercilia Vauda Scarpetta, and an architect, Francis Queret, who was, let's say, bringing with him part of the complicated, complex, and dramatic story of African countries, of sub-Saharan African countries. I think it was very important to little bit take in consideration the necessity to abandon a binary, let's say, differentiation between culture and nature, between human sphere and natural sphere, and to introduce this, let's say, awareness about unknowns. This third part of the trilogy, the 24th exhibition, I think is another step in the same direction, since what we know, what we have understood is that if we don't try to, let's say, understand how much the inequalities are conditioning the life and the future of all of us, the risk is that also ecological transition, so also all what we could do in order to, let's say, not simply repair, but to create a balance between the human sphere and the natural sphere, is condemned to be a failure. In other words, if we just go to the last three COPs, COP was very clear saying, well, the poorest countries are the most, let's say, affected by the catastrophes caused by global warming, but are the less responsible of the production of CO2. The richest one, that are responsible for 75–80% of the emission of CO2, are the more capable to develop policies and intervention to protect them or to adapt their condition to the new condition produced by climate change. And that's simply a very, let's say, clear, let's say, confirm how much, if we don't see the necessity of an ecological transition through the key entry of inequality, the risk is to create advantages for the country and the city that are already advantaged, and create troubles and complication to the population that are still fragile. We have decided to concentrate in the Triennale Milano building two possible approach to this issue. And what we have done, also thanks to a forum we had last September, where we were inviting several thinkers from all over the world. Tim Ingold, which is, in my opinion, one of the most interesting anthropologists, or Richard Sennett, but also, let's say, researchers and coming from Asia, from South America. So it was really a very important moment for us to, let's say, absorb knowledges and suggestions. And at the end of this forum, we have understood that probably we could do, let's say, a reinterpretation of the inequality issue following two main approaches. One is about geopolitics of inequalities, and the second one is more about biopolitics of inequalities. And so what we have done in the two floors of the building is to a little bit subdivide the contribution of different curators and different authors, following this possible declination. That's why the ground floor is basically mainly dedicated to cities and how cities are mirroring any version of inequalities we could find in our societies, and they make them visible. The main man immediately visible, and also thanks to Pentagram, who was curating, let's say, all what is the public image of the exhibition, we were in condition to, let's say, always work with diagrams, very simple, very clear, and case studies, and sometimes solution, because also that is something which for us is very important. On the first floor, all it's about biopolitics or inequalities, and in that space we are concentrating contributions that are trying to introduce questions related and issues related, for instance, to biodiversity, and how biodiversity, not simply in terms of how to make easier the cohabitation of different living species, but also biodiversity which is inside our body, like the fantastic research showed by Mark Wigley and Beatrice Colomina on bacteria. No? So it's a really a new paradigm, a new possible paradigm following which we can really change our perspective on the future, but also what Nick Palmarini and Marco have done about on longevity and life expectation. It's a way to decline what the issue of inequality, talking about how much, let's say, unequal is our healthy life expectation. In Chicago, 31 years between if you're born in a peripheral district or you're born in the center of the city. In Torino, 4 years. In Monte Carlo, you have 83 years of healthy life expectation. In Chad, you have 50 years. So just to give you some stupid numbers, my numbers are they never lie in a way. No? So, and in between, just finishing, in between these two layers, there is this, I think, very strong and also at the same time delicate contribution on Gaza. We found a way to talk about this tremendous tragedy, thanks to the proposal of a young journalist who is also an economist and works for the Economist, the magazine, who proposed us to put upside down a diagram of causalities in the 471 days to start from the attack of the October 7 by Hamas and the first ceasefire in January. And that installation, it's, well, I believe it's very strong, it's very clear, it talks by itself, and it's, well, it's there. It is talk about geopolitics and biopolitics together. There are many possible clues of how design could be helpful. I just quote two possible references. One is in the part of cities, what Vienna, Autriche has done in the last 50 years about, let's say, social housing. The local government, the local governments in the last decades have always invested a lot of money in social housing, in realizing public social housing. And this has, let's say, made the city affordable for everybody. The 43% of the real estate patrimony in Vienna is public. And this is unbelievable. And that's something that we should understand, we should study, we should really use as a model of reference. For a city as Milano. Milano is present in many parts of the contribution, and what we are understanding about Milano, that Milano has become more and more attractive in the last years, also in terms of capacity of attraction of young students, young researchers, but it is not, still not, inclusive in terms of being capable to give to the young people that come here a future, to give them, let's say, the space to rent that are affordable in relation with their income. So it's a very interesting model, the one of Vienna, because it's showing us that there is something which is possible, is nearby, and is really related with a good politics. Another example is about art and crafts tradition. So what Theater Gates has done on the first floor, showing how in this, let's say, small Japanese village, one fantastic, let's say, artisan has started to involve the village and to, let's say, help the village through the production of art craft products to improve the quality of their life. It's very important. So it's something that you can find also in the Angola pavilion, for instance. There are many coincidences, but it's very important. This exhibition will last 6 months, and this will allow us, in terms of public program, to host several possible, let's say, exchange of ideas, of thoughts. So we are really planning to make Triennale in these 6 months a platform where also cultural institutions that have contact with us could talk about inequalities. And that's one thing that we're planning to do. On the other side, we'd love to see how to a little bit export this attention for this issue in other cities and in other countries, thanks to the relation with our cultural institution. This is something which is very related to the concept of cultural diplomacy. So I think that cultural diplomacy is such an important opportunity in a moment where the world is crossed by conflicts that have nothing to do with culture and much to do with stupid, let's say, political, well, obtuse oppositions. And so I think that the culture has a very important role in this moment. It's such a complex question, but for sure what we also written presenting this exhibition is that we all burn unequal. So we burn and in a place we burn inside the family. We experience a certain culture, a certain tradition, a certain also faith sometimes, and also in a certain way a relation which is very important from our beginning with a social cultural context. And this is something that from some point of view is conditioned our life, but is also this, let's say, very peculiar amount of individualities is it's a resource. The point that this exhibition tried to decipher is that if we are not able, during our life, in our life trajectory, to use the variety of our individualities as a resource that we can change, that we can modify, that we can use. If we, at a certain moment of our life, understand that all this variety of things became a chain, or a barrier, or an obstacle, well, this is how the variety of differences that are identifying each of us could become factor of inequalities. And I think that the distinction between diversities and inequalities is very important. So, if you want, I could say that inequalities are perverse it's a perverse form of variety and differences.